Oh, Ken, thank you so much for bringing it this morning. I love that song, and I absolutely love working with the guest artists every week when we create the service feel that we like to have. And I was ready to pull that out. I've been wanting to pull that one out for a long time. Do you feel it? Yeah. Are you feeling it? I'm feeling it. We had this incredible mini visioning retreat yesterday morning, and some of the folks that were there yesterday are here this morning, and they came up to me, and one of them said, so I'm kind of buzzing. I'm kind of trembling still from all that good energy and creation and incredible juices that were flowing yesterday. And I said, yeah, me too. I said, I feel like an electric fence that's just buzzing and humming nonstop. I said, but you won't get electrified if you touch me. Promise. I promise. So we are culminating our month of manifestation. Mara, our practitioner, one of our practitioners, did a fabulous job of opening us up at the beginning of the month and kicking us off with this idea this month of manifestation. And she covered some incredible basics. And then we went on to creating a renaissance, manifesting a renaissance in our life, in our personal life, in our center, our community, and then all over the world. And then last week we got to experience and celebrate the joy of International Day of Peace. And we all got to come together and hold that notion of peace and know it and experience it and feel it. And so this month, this day today, we are finishing off with actually a question for you. I got a question for you. Question is, are you bouncing your vision off your provisions? Are you doing that? And to answer the question, I'm going to help you out a little bit, because one way that we know that we may be doing that is if we go around, we come here, we follow the belief, we follow the philosophy of the science mind teaching, which really means change your thinking, change your life. What you believe you will receive, period. Every single time, nonstop. What you believe, you receive. What you put out, you're going to get back. So how many of us, and I am guilty of this as well, sometimes go around with this feeling and this attitude of, well, I'll believe it when I see it. In any area or aspect of your life. Maybe your finances, maybe your job, maybe your relationships, maybe your family. I'll believe it when I see it. Or maybe sometimes we walk around with this notion that we've already kind of put somebody in this context or in this box or in this way of behaving, and we just hold them there. And they could show up differently in our lives, but we can't possibly see it because we hold them to that vision. We hold them to that perception. So what if we were to let go? What if we were to think outside of that notion? What if we were to not look at our provision to base our vision off of? What if it was really the other way around? Because I'm here to tell you it is. Your provision shows up based on your vision every single time. Every single time. It's when we hang on to that idea, it's like a dog with a bone, isn't it? I mean, how many of us can sometimes be guilty of being persistent and stubborn, of holding on to a particular notion about something, even though it's showing up differently in front of our face? We may tend to hang on to it because we're conditioned that way. And it's all about breaking that condition. And how do we do that? We talk about this almost every Sunday and in every single one of our classes. It's being mindful. This beautiful angel yesterday in visioning said, wow, it's about mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness in our lives every single day. And I'm here to tell you, we are completely filled, surrounded, embodied by all and the exact energy that has created everything that has ever existed and that will exist. Do you realize that? That's what and who we are, is this energy. So what happens when we are not mindful of that? We forget that or operate on autopilot and choose to not guide and direct our lives based on this phenomenal energy that we are and that we have. I have to laugh because earlier this week, there was a huge backup on I-25. And it started because a very large tanker truck filled with fuel, filled with gasoline, ran out of gas. Yes, you see the irony there, don't you? It ran out of gas. And what happened, what caused the long backup, is the responder that came to help them out and to bring them gasoline so that they could no longer block the interstate, they could not figure out how to put the gasoline in the gas truck. Swear to God, took them forever. I don't know if you saw this on the news or if you heard the report. I heard it from Tony, who was on his way home and was backed up and figured out why, and he made a conscious decision to go around it. But think about the irony there, and that's kind of where I'm going right now, is this energy, the energy that has created you and everything that you see and everything that you can't see is the same energy that we have available to guide and direct our life based on our vision, not our provision. And so are we carrying around this huge tank of gasoline called spirit and not know how to use it or not even know how to connect to it so that it can provide us the fuel to go through our lives and move from good to great, which is really what we're doing right now, by the way, is moving from good to great. Back to that premise that everything is energy, and we've got to cultivate the energy field in our life. We get to do that. We cultivate our energy field just like we cultivate our bodies, just like we cultivate our garden or our yard or our home. You know, how clean are your toilets? Seriously. How are you cultivating your energy field? Because it's all energy. We are ripe for creative expression because it's all God stuff. And the idea is to get into that natural rhythm of our true nature. You know, you feel this natural rhythm of the true nature. Jane Beach, one of our ministers in the field, says this: because we're made of God stuff, we're ripe for creative expression. And when we get into that rhythm of our true nature, the universe notices. If every day we're a little bit happier, a little bit more optimistic, our vibration attracts more happiness, more optimism, and more things to be happy about, more things to be optimistic about. That's how it works. So just imagine a world vibrating with the expression of creative, joyous optimism. That's how we cultivate our energy field, our environment. We're responsible for that. No one else is. No one else is. You know, I've been working for years with people doing spiritual mind treatment with them and spiritual counseling. And do you know that the majority of people that I have worked with over the years do not know what they want? Usually they don't, not at the beginning. And usually they know very well what they don't want. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? If I were to go around and say, so what do you want? How many of us are kind of conditioned to automatically go into, well, I know what I don't want. I'm not really sure what I want, but I know what this and this and this, because I've been there, done that. So the idea around me bringing that up is, you know, consciousness is the sum total of our belief, both conscious and unconscious. And if we most of the time don't know what we want, but we do know what we don't want, where do you think we're putting most of our energy? Where do you think we're cultivating our field of energy? Usually it's around what we don't want. And if you cultivate your energy around what you don't want, you're going to get more of what you don't want, right? I mean, that's really what we're all about here. It's kind of simple math. Not new math, it's simple math. And so what happens when we just focus on what we don't want? Lack gets all the energy. And that lack getting all the energy tends to just bring us down and bring us down and bring us down. And I watched not long ago this short little clip by this evangelical minister named Bill Winston. And I actually just love watching evangelical ministers because I tell you what, their whole gig is to jump up and down and yell and scream and be excited. And you could almost just totally feel where they're coming from. But this is what Bill says. He says, focusing on lack shorts out your vision. If you go around and say, well, I don't have that much money. Let's say you've got a vision of going to school and majoring in something that you just have such a love for and a passion for, and you look at your finances or you open your wallet and I'm like, but I don't have that much money. And he says, what's money got to do with it? Love how he talks. He says, God told us that we just need to hold that in mind. God told us that we just need to ask. And he says, what happens sometimes is we look at the little money that we have, and it brings us down to a level that shorts it out all the way. You see, you can't create and manifest that what you want when you keep looking at what you don't have or what you lack. You're basing your vision off your provision. And Bill says, forget about that. God has plenty in his house, and most of what he has in his house, in his storeroom, has your name on it. We just don't know how to get to the gas sometimes, right? So it's all about our ability to vibrate at the level of our vision and our desires. And I know a little bit about this. I know that you guys do too. But I am here to tell you that at this moment in my life, I am experiencing just absolute greatness. I mean, I am not kidding you, every single day, because Tony and I live very full lives. And we say yes to the universe, and the yes keeps saying yes back to us. And so our lives are very full. And when we fall into bed at the end of the night, we're so excited that it takes us a while to go to sleep because we're so excited about all that we had to be grateful for that occurred that day. And we just keep saying more of this, more of this, more of this. And we keep getting it. Life is amazing and joyous. So I'm here speaking from my heart and from my own personal application of all this and from my experience. So the idea is to move from this idea and feeling of lack and move into this idea that if you can just visualize and move into this feeling nature, go immediately to what you want form and not what you don't want. Charles Fillmore says it really directly and specifically, so I'm going to say his words. When you talk of hard times, famines, lack, you are talking of something that has no place in the mind of God. You are not acknowledging God in all of your ways, but you are acknowledging error and affirming that the world has its source in outer things. You must turn around and get into this consciousness that in mind and spirit, there is abundance. That's Charles Fillmore. There is unlimited abundance. There was a huge amount of gasoline in that gas truck, and it just needed to figure out how to tap into it. So I love this visual that our spiritual leader in our movement, Centers for Spiritual Living, Ken Gordon, uses. This is how he explains it. Imagine this big circle. You're here in the center of your big old circle called your life. And everything that you know as reality and everything that you're experiencing is in this circle. And there's something you want over there. And you think, I want that over there. So you start focusing on getting what you want over there. And I love how he puts it, and we've all been there, I'm sure. I've been there. I know I've been there. I can tell you stories about this. But we can all demonstrate what we want over there. We can demonstrate it enough to get it. But we tend to go get it and pull it into our circle over here. And what happens when that happens? You've heard the stories of people who win the lottery, but they don't have that prosperity consciousness, so the money's gone like in a year. You get that over there, you pull it into your circle of conscious awareness and vibration. It can't live in that vibration because it's vibrating to a level of consciousness greater than this level of consciousness. So the whole idea is that we jump over here, get this, and jump back in our circle and hang on to it. The idea is that we cultivate our circle and we widen it and we embrace more of what we know to be the truth to where now our circle encompasses it. Right? I love that. So there's a lot of areas where we try to make our circle incorporate that over there. It can be health. It can be relationships. It can be wealth. I can tell you, I've done it. And so what I absolutely love about this is when we come into a mindfulness and an understanding about it, then we can just start getting busy cultivating our circle. It's almost like we surrender and we don't forget about this over here, but we forget about what we need to do to get it. Because what we need to do to get it is to focus on what and who we are and how we're showing up here. and what that energetic vibration is that we are vibrating to. Is it gratitude? Is it understanding? Is it love? Is it joy? Is it receptivity? I know that you know the difference in the feeling between those words or lack, judgment. I can't even think of any more words because I'm just not in that vibration right now. Whatever. I don't want to stay in those words. But you know the feeling. I know you can feel the feeling. So it's all about culturally evolving who you are within your cultivation of your circle. Wayne Dyer says abundance is not something we acquire. It's something that we tune into. We tune into it. Art's reading this morning was perfect. He spoke exactly of that. Health, wealth, creative expression, loving relationships, all these different areas in your life, are you cultivating that of joy and love and gratitude and receptivity and abundance? You know, it's about mindfulness. We got to clear our head. We got to see through any obstacles and barriers that keeps us from seeing the truth behind it. And I want to tell you something. The universe makes great sense. The universe knows what it's doing. It's infinitely intelligent. I love that. It still surprises me, almost on a daily basis. I love how Ken Gordon describes what I mean by this. Many, many years ago, when he and his wife Deborah started out as co-ministers of a center, they were starting out, young family, they had children, and they both decided to live without debt, to get rid of their debt. And they held this intention for about a year, and this goal for about a year. And during that time, they were working with this couple that had just started coming to their center, and they were doing all kinds of stuff with them, socializing and treatment work and helping them out, and the couple got really involved in the center. And then one day, this couple disappeared. And they didn't say anything to Ken and Deborah. They didn't contact them. They didn't say a word, and they disappeared. And after being gone for like 3 weeks, they contacted them and said, you know, are you okay? What's up? We haven't seen you. And they found out that they had converted to a different faith tradition almost overnight and just didn't come back. And Ken shared his feelings about that in a talk once, about how he felt so betrayed. He felt so let go of. He felt like, well, they owe me. And then he realized, oh my God, how could I possibly live a life and reach a goal of being out of debt if everything that I do I consider an expectation of payment back for? How is it that I can live a life of being out of debt if when I do something, whatever that might be, when I show up for something, say yes to something, do a good deed, to provide service, if I am somehow, some way, maybe even unconsciously keeping tabs of that and expecting payback for that, that's a debt. And that's creating a vibrational energy field of debt. And so he realized no longer would I do anything and expect getting anything in return. And I'll tell you right now, personally, expectations are resentments and training. I know that personally. So let them go, gently, let them go. So the idea is cultivating this field, this vibration that we want to then eventually grow and incorporate and encompass that which we desire. And the whole point of doing that is it's all about feeling. You gotta feel it. It's this essence and energy and vibration. And so here's an example. Tony and I just got back from the Big Sky Retreat. And at the Big Sky Retreat, and I honestly can't remember if I said this to him before or after I heard Ken talk, I said, you know what? I want to set an intention. I want to set an intention and a goal to be debt-free, to be completely out of debt in every area of my life. And the really cool thing about this is when we're cultivating our field, the universe pays attention. The universe is always saying yes and always supporting us in everything that we desire to do. And within an hour, in less than an hour, I got a call on my cell phone. I'm in Montana. And I got a call on my cell phone from Reverend Kathleen Linover, who is a financial guru here in Denver and became a minister last year. And she was calling me because she had closed her very successful financial advisor business so that she could focus on her ministry. And her ministry was a focus ministry to empower women to find their financial freedom. And she asked me to be an advisor on her panel to set up this focus ministry. I mean, that was really out of the blue, guys. Really out of the blue. And I got to thinking, oh my, what's the best possible way for me to start cultivating my energetic field of financial freedom but to hang out with this financial guru that has definitely proven in her life that she's got the consciousness and the know-how and the wherewithal to do that. I'm like, yes, that was awesome. And that's just one little thing where the universe shows up to support us in that cultivation. I love it. You know, it's all about imagining the feeling. The feeling is something that I can put my energy into. And it's when you do that, it's something that the universe can recognize and bring you more of over and over and over again. It's this beautiful dance. You've got something to put your feeling behind. I invite you to let go of the feeling that you may have wrapped around the need of what we want. There's a difference here, so let me tell you what that feels like. When you have this need of what you want, the feelings wrapped around that is generally guilt or pain or lack. So think about the feeling that you are holding and encompassing and experiencing when it comes to cultivating your field. Because when we focus on not having something that we want and saying we need this and we need it because we don't have it, we're cultivating guilt and pain and lack. Yet, if we are looking in our life and looking at our field of what we have, and we're cultivating this vibration, this vibrational energy around being mindful of seeing every little treasure and gift because they're all around us all the time. We just don't normally see it. We just don't normally experience it, but it's there. It is so there. This is a funny example, but I'm going to tell you. After the Big Sky Retreat, we went to Yellowstone to camp. And this is funny, but anyway, we're camping. So, when you camp, primitive camp, you don't take showers because there are no showers. But it was Tony's birthday. We decided to go into one of the campgrounds that had showers so that we could take showers. So that's what I gave Tony for his birthday, a shower. It's a little joke. But to do that, we needed cash. We needed to stop at an ATM. We never go to ATMs. We just don't. And so we go to this little general store that has an ATM machine in it, and we go to use it, and somebody had not picked up their ATM receipt. It's left in the machine, so we pull it out, and normally you'd throw it away, but Tony looked at it real quick. You know where it says available balance in your checking account? It was $27,000. Yeah. So that was a visual, see? To me, that was the universe showing up and saying, oh, look, let's cultivate that feeling of being out of debt. Let's cultivate this feeling of seeing on a printed receipt from the ATM that your available checking balance is $27,000. We were both like, yeah, bring it on. I'm cool with that. I am totally cool with that. That's powerful stuff when we can implant that, when we can see it. And seeing it allows us to think about it and say, oh, am I ready for that? Is that possible? Is that within my realm of being able to vision because I'm not basing my vision on my provision? And we both agreed, yes. That's what we agreed to, yes. And I want you to know it's not just about the money. It's not. I believe the universe is constantly giving us those glimpses, sometimes obvious front row seats, to what we've just got to be paying attention to so that we can continue cultivating that field, that energetic resonance. Tony and I will be married 2 years tomorrow. And as you know, this is my first marriage. Thank you. If I had known it was going to be this good, I'd have gotten married a long time ago. So this is my first marriage, and I don't have any children, and I really would love to have a baby. I really would love to have a baby. So talk about cultivating this field of energetic resonance. Guess what happened this week on Thursday? Well, no, I'm not pregnant. That's pretty cute, though. You guys will be the first to know as soon as that happened. No, but we got to be in the labor and delivery room. And we got to experience full hand the birth of our first great-grandchild. So I'm a great-grandmother now. Yes. Oh, I didn't do anything to have that happen except maybe cultivate this energetic field of having a new baby in my life. And this is even better because as great-grandparents, you get all the fun and the glory, and you don't have to do anything. But that's Kason Robert right there. And that's Tony's grandson, Anthony, and his girlfriend, Lexi. And it was a spectacular experience to be a part of that delivery. So do you see? You know, it may not always show up how we think it's going to show up. Remember those expectations that I invite you to get rid of so that it doesn't build resentments? But look at that. We've got a brand new baby in the family. And that's good for me right now. That is good for me. So I am super excited about this. And that day, that night at the store where Tony works, this little kid in a shopping cart was going right by him. Talk about energetic resonance. And he turned and he pointed at Tony and he yelled out, "Papa." I mean, where did that come from, right? See, that's what we're talking about. There's something going on here in this field that we're cultivating. I mean, the little kid called him Papa. So that's how the universe works, y'all. The answer is the feeling I can imagine to grow and expand in our lives. And those little tips that the universe gives to us and those little findings, like the ATM receipt of $27,000 in the checking account, that's something that I can imagine growing and expanding in. That's something that I can imagine cultivating mindfulness with. So there's this other way that it happens too. There's this story about this older woman that was making a long drive through several states, and she was nearing her last leg of her long drive, and her car got a flat tire. And it was getting late, and it was cold, and no one was on this road. She hadn't seen anybody for a little over an hour, but this guy pulls up in this really old, run-down beater car, and she started feeling a little apprehensive about that. But he got out of the car, and he walked over, and he's like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "Well, I have a flat tire." And he's like, "I'll take care of it. You stay in the car so you can stay warm." And he crawls underneath the car to see where he can put the jack, and he's kind of scraping his knuckles and gets the oh heavens, what's that called? The tire in the trunk, the spare. Thank you. Gets the spare out and jacks up her car and switches it out. And while he's putting the last lug nut on, she's feeling like she's okay and safe, and this guy is really nice, and he's just helping her out. So she kind of rolls the window down and says, "Thank you so much. I don't know what I would have done. I hadn't seen anybody on the road for a little over an hour. My name's Virginia. What's your name?" And he says, "It's Brian Anderson." And she says, "Well, how much do I owe you? I really want to repay you for this kind favor." And he said, "Ma'am, you don't owe me anything. But if you really want to do something, please pay it forward. Because one day you're going to come across somebody that needs help that only that you can provide. So just pay it forward." And she's like, "Well, thank you so much." And they said bye. And so she drives on down the road for a few miles and stops at this little cafe so that she could get warm and have some warm, hearty food to finish her last leg of her journey. And her server was a young woman who was very, very, very pregnant. And she noticed that, it's that look that you just can't hide when you've been on your feet a long time and you're tired and you're exhausted and but she had a smile on her face and she was an excellent server, but she could tell the woman was tired. And so she decided, in that moment, she remembered Brian Anderson. So she decided to pay it forward. And she left a $100 bill and quickly ran out before the woman could give her change. And the waitress went to get her change and noticed she was gone and noticed a note on her napkin that said, somebody did something really kind for me, and asked for me to pay it forward. And so I'm paying it forward to you too. And underneath the napkin was 4 more $100 bills. And so she got through the rest of her shift and got home late at night and went to bed and snuggled up to her husband, who she knows has been working really hard and had been really worried about their financial situation with the new baby coming up. And she kisses him on the cheek and she says, "I love you, Brian Anderson." You see how that works?
So he says, "Who the heck is Brian Anderson?"
That's how that works. So it's not just about the money, it's about cultivating this field. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? I need to know. Let me see some response here. When you cultivate that field, you know it, don't you? I know that you know it. You know, Tony works at home office with this guy named Brandon. This is a great story about cultivating your field. And he's a great IT guy. He's their IT guy. And they just had a going away party for him this last Wednesday because on top of being a great IT guy, he also does stand-up comics. Stand-up, what is that called? Improv, thank you. He also does improv. Loves it. It's his passion. He's good at it. Been doing it for years. Well, let me quickly go to where I met. The first time I met Louise Hay was in the late 90s. She told me a story about one of her editors at her magazine, that she had started out as a young girl and her life was, seemingly falling apart, not doing real well. And she said, fast forward a few years after being an editor of Hay House and reading all these books on positivity and how you can change your life and how you can heal yourself. And her life was just soaring. She had become an author herself. She was very famous and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that's how this works. And that's what I'm telling you this story about, because that's how this works. So back to Brandon. They were giving him a going away party because he had been offered a job to work with Will Ferrell in LA. He was going to become a writer for Will Ferrell in LA. And they were going to move him out there. They moved his stuff. They shipped his cars, him and his girlfriend's cars. And he's going to go work and write for him. And as a part of that, work at the comedy club that the guy that does Saturday Night Live, that manages that, what's his name? Lauren Michaels. Uses this comedy club to vet all the people that come on to Saturday Night Live. And he goes once a month to listen to the comics there, do their improv. This is what he gets to do. He's like over the moon ecstatic. And then his girlfriend, and this is all that happened in like 2 weeks, this last 2 weeks time period, his girlfriend, needed to get a job out there. She gets a job as a property manager of this really high-end exclusive property that has like 12 units in it, really expensive, and because she's managing it, they get to have one of the units for $500 a month. Yeah. So you see, sometimes that cultivation just culminates to this incredible, rich soil of just being able to move on and experience life to our greatest possible experience. That's the definition and the example of moving from good to great. I'd say Brandon and his girlfriend are in that process of moving from good to great in their life. And his opportunities are unlimited in front of him. My God, he gets to do what he loves to do and write for Will Ferrell, and Lauren Michaels gets to come and hear him do comedy once a month. It's just awesome. So I'm going to close with summing up this quote from Jane Beach again, because I think it bears repeating. Because we're made of God's stuff, we're ripe for creative expression. When we get into the rhythm of our true nature, the universe notices. It does. If every day we're a little bit happier, a little bit more optimistic, our vibration attracts more to be happy and optimistic about. Just imagine a world vibrating with the expression of creative, joyous optimism. Imagine that world. I am so grateful for absolutely everything in my life. And that includes you. That includes this center and this community, my loving husband, my incredible family, and every other aspect of my life. I am literally filled with love and gratitude. So let's move into prayer knowing that it is all energy. Everything is energy. And everything, every energy that is created, all that has ever been and all that ever will be is right here within us because we are completely connected to this divine source. And right here and right now, we declare and we claim that we have the knowledge and the information and the intuitive wisdom to dip into the gasoline of the divine within our very selves and use it to the greatest of our ability as we move from good to great in our lives. And we have the wherewithal and the foresight and the open eyes to open them and see all of the beautiful different signs that the universe puts in front of our faces every single moment to support us in our declaration. And so right now, we hold a vision that is not based on our provisions. We hold within our heart a vision that brings about a feeling of love and gratitude and fulfillment and joy and excitement. And this is the vibration level that we are tuned to. And we are tuned to it by being mindful, by being open, by being aware, by being grateful, and by saying yes. Sometimes we just need to say yes to all that's in the storehouse with our name on it. And so with a heart filled with gratitude, we just simply allow our hearts to open more, our conscious mind to open more, feel our receptivity, be fine-tuned, and we just simply allow it to unfold. We know this to be the truth, and we just simply proclaim it together with "and so it is."